So, and if that now all of a sudden you've increased capacity even more. So can you tell FedEx, I can go from 1,300 stops to 1,572 easy. Okay. And that's without adding a driver in this operation. Okay. So I'm going to go to the chat first. Okay. Chris Sparkman, I'll give you a call. Okay. So the first question is, where does your data come from in terms of the dispatch discussions, et cetera? Are these just from the contractors that use your services? Jeff?
So that's where our data does come from, but keep in mind, we have remember your statistics 101. We have what's termed a significant, it's a good sample size. So we have data from folks in San Diego to Maine, Seattle to Miami, and everywhere in between. We are fortunate that we get to see a real good set of data for all this. So is it FedEx? Is this FedEx's data? No, it's not. But there's probably nobody else out there that has the ability to take a look at what's going on out there like this.
Yeah. What do you anticipate, as hard as that can be, the percentage of volume increase could be? It could be 100% easily, but that's if people don't follow the rules. And quite frankly, in 1997, people didn't follow the rules. So, but realistically, I think you'll get a good gauge next week, because those are going to be, the allotments that shippers are going to be able to ship. So towards the end of next week, your delivery volume should be significantly increased. And I think you can plan on that. And then guess what? Whatever that increase was, I'd more than double it. Would you agree with that, Jeff?
Well, what they'll do, and this could happen as soon as next week, we'll see. And it's my understanding that as we're sitting here, or maybe a little before we're sitting here, FedEx finally said something about this. I don't know exactly what it is, but they will put as much. I know everybody thinks that they're going to be able to control the volume, and they're not going to put the network in jeopardy, if that's what you want to say. That I'm sure they intend to, and I'm sure there are, even though they haven't shared them with any of you guys yet, but I'm sure there's contingency plans in place. But volume will find its way into this network through every nook and cranny that there is. And even though they're going to try to control it, it's going to come into the system. And if any of you have been around for any length of time, I know that they're going to come to you guys and they're going to say, look, I don't care what your threshold is. I don't care any of this. I need you to deliver these packages, right? Can you put on a second shift? Can you run 24 hours? Can you do this? Can you do that? Now, I'm not saying that it's going to come to that necessarily. I will tell you this, if a strike does in fact happen, yes, all those things are on the table, everything. But we'll see if we get there. That would be, as we just saw in a few slides ago, we saw that is UPS willing to give up 30% of its volume? I don't know. Maybe they might. There might be some reason to do that. There's for sure more going on here than that we all know, right? And it could be this afternoon, Mr. O'Brien comes out and says they made us an offer we can't refuse. We are in action. That could happen too. But those of you that know, we were there the last time, and you'll see. Hopefully you won't see. Hopefully you won't see. And actually what's happening right now, they're going to start making deals with some customers, and they're going to take some volume now that won't go back. UPS is going to start losing volume basically from now up until the deadline. So we'll see what goes on there.
Yeah, next question says, might have already answered this, but curious, how much of an increase can FedEx system handle? 10%, 20%, 25%? I firmly believe that they could handle, they feel that they could handle at least 25%. At the same time, they're not going to hire a bunch of people on their end, because once again, they feel this is short-term volume. This is a FedEx philosophy. It's not the old RPS philosophy. They think the CSPs have a lot of capacity on their end, and they don't want to throw a lot of money at this problem. So they're going to have the CSPs handle it at base rates, without the increase, other than if you would exceed your daily stop threshold and get surge paid. That would be it. So it will probably come down to what can the local terminal process in your building. They said they haven't talked about it enough. When we were senior managers and hub managers, we had to put together capacity plans and hire to that capacity. I don't think they're doing that now. Will they stretch their sort length out? Yes. But they're going to try to get it to the point of delivery. But they've got to keep their hubs current, because once the hubs crash, the line haul crashes, and then packages don't get in and out of the terminals. So, anything to add to that, Jeff?
No, sir.
Okay. How is FDX going to handle volume? They aren't hiring package handlers. What course do we have if volume increases and dispatches are even later than they are now? Once again, in your contract, you have a drop dead dispatch time. You can hold them to that, and then that would be it. But as you said, they're not hiring a lot of package handlers. Hopefully they're hiring to staff their sorts to where they're supposed to be with a scheduled finish time. But in even automated satellites and hubs, you have a capacity on throughput, so you can only handle so much there. But the sort capacities technically used to be figured on 3.5 hours. They've changed that a little bit. So they can increase capacity by increasing sort times. Hopefully they start earlier rather than run the sort later. So that's about the best way I can answer that question.
So okay. The other thing though is they won't, if it gets there, it's a big if, but there won't be the beginning and an end of a sort will go away. It'll just be a continuous sort, if you remember, Ken. I mean, yeah. You were processing whatever you could, whenever you could. There wasn't really a beginning of a sort and an end of a sort. I mean, that was pretty extreme, but in the places we were at, that's what was going on. It was just move everything you can as you can do it. So hopefully it doesn't get to that again, but we'll see.
And they'll stack stuff on the floor, because what happened, they've got to get the packages out of the trailers in order to load the trailers again. So once you run out of trailers, you're done. So they're going to unload trailers and stack them wherever they can. Next comment was, none of my 3 buildings have even mentioned the strike. They act like nothing has happened. I've asked about it, and all they say is they don't know. you know, my philosophy is they're doing this, they're not addressing it that way because they don't want to incur permanent cost for short-term revenue. So what do? They take the short-term revenue and it goes in the pocket. And they won't pay guarantees because of, just like they don't at peak. So that's my belief, that their FedEx is not mentioning it because they don't want to pay contractors a Schedule K, and they don't want to bring on more package handlers than they need if it is going to be short-term volume. Okay. Should we
Hey,
go to our,
also,
go ahead.
hey, keep an eye on rentals. If rentals increase in your buildings, trailers, let us know. Be good to know.
Yeah, so yeah, when you pull it into the yard, take a look if there's not, if there's rental trailers out there, that, you know, trailers that are not decaled with the FedEx stuff, that'll tell you that the volumes increase beyond capacity of the trail of their current pool of trailers. So should we go to Orlando at the FedEx Summit if we are anticipating a volume surge, and will eTruckBiz be one of those vendors? Jeff.
Thanks, Ken. If there's a volume surge, I'm just gonna say it. You're probably not going to be able to go anywhere. So we'll see, right? And will eTruckBiz be there? The answer to that is no, we will not.
Okay, so yeah, and once again, as the owner, you want to know how prepared your operation is if you're going to go. I believe FedEx hopes that there is not a strike, because I believe they want to have a successful summit there. So know what your capacity is, but if the true volume hits, it's going to come harder than faster than you've ever seen, unless you were there in 1997. I mean, it's literally like opening up a fire hydrant. And as Jeff said, no matter what constraints that people put on, that FedEx puts on, people don't adhere to those rules, and the pressure that your drivers will face from traffic managers when they're doing pickups, the pressure that senior managers will face from current customers. I mean, think about it. How many of your pickup accounts does FedEx get 100% of the volume? Not all of them, that's for sure. So just that increase would be significant. So they literally open up a fire hydrant, that volume comes. Just if it happens, stick with your plan, hire what you can hire. Don't let your BCs do anything stupid. It's never worth losing your business over. And by that means putting people who are not approved on the road, people who have been disqualified on the road, sharing badges, all the stupid stuff that people do to think in the name of service that they're doing the right thing. Those are the kind of things that can end your contracts. So please, please do the right thing, protect your business during this time period. Jeff, anything?
You know what though, Ken?
Yeah.
But I mean, having said that, you're right. Don't do anything stupid. But keep in mind that they will hold you accountable up to every single package and stop that they can. So if your drivers are on the road 5 hours right now on average, they're going to assume they can be out there 9.5 or whatever, and they're going to give you that volume. And that's why we're telling you, you need to look up your thresholds, make sure you know where you're at as far as that goes. And then think about what, if you were at your threshold, what would you, that's why we're asking you to look at your capacity. What can you handle? Because if you look at your threshold right now and you say, well, I can't do that. I'm going to ask these guys to be on the road 6 hours a day. God forbid. If that's the case, they're going to hold you accountable to your thresholds. And those that can't and don't handle it, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's not going to be any consequences for that. They will, just like peak. After the storm clears, after peak's gone, I'm sure you guys have seen people not around you anymore, right? The folks that can't handle peak, they're not playing with them anymore. They're going to get rid of them. So, and they can't because of the express. You can't have marginal operators out there. So I don't, again, we don't want to black cloud everything. It's just, we're just telling you exactly what's going to happen. They're going to hold you accountable to what your thresholds are, for sure.
And some people were saying, well, how much does FedEx, how much capacity can they take on? Very normal operation, 7 hours. At least 9.25 hours is the capacity. You go from 1,300 stops all the way up to 1,638. Once again, I'm sure his capacity, this daily stop threshold's higher than that. Okay, so, but 25% on your existing fleet, if you're at 7 hours, very, very reasonable. And that's only at 12 stops per hour. Say we've got people on this call that do 22 stops per hour. Guess what? Now all of a sudden, you can absorb over 35%. Okay.
See, that's what they're going to be looking at. They're going to look at that. And if you can't handle that they have to question they're going to have to question your suitability for a re-up in your contract.
And if you say that's tough, that's tough. If you want some incentive, look at the increased revenue here. More than $500,000. Are you going to have to pay a little more in labor? Yeah. Not even half of that. Think about that. Say 80% of that drops to the bottom line. That's $450,000. Unused capacity is in your operation. You have to know where it is by route. You have to re-engineer. If you're going to take a 35% increase in volume, you're going to have to probably realign your anchors a little bit. So as Bob talks about, go into the sandbox, play around with volume levels, and start with your DST, and then move yourself backwards. But you can't do it with your drivers on road 7 hours. 9.25 is what FedEx is going to expect during this time period. Okay. Anything else? Looks like we might have another question in here. Yes, we do. How would the capacity affect DRO if the preload doesn't have a set schedule? What if your drivers are doing 9 hours a day at this time? Okay, well, the preload should have a set schedule for an end time. They should be able to have more volume available early, so they should be able to start earlier. So they might have a maximum throughput, but they could at least start earlier. They can run that throughput, which what that means is packages processed in an hour. So they can expand the sort length, run the same planned throughput, and increase the stops. And volume should become available earlier because the hubs will be filling up those trailers earlier in the day on the day sort, and then throughout the evening. So you should have volume available earlier to start the sort. If your drivers are already on road 9 hours, yeah, you don't have the ability to add a whole lot of capacity there. So once again, then you would start here with your capacity, say 9 hours, and can they stay out a little bit later? Can we take them to 9.75 hours? You play with that there that way. Okay, and in this case, let's go down here. Here's what you can absorb. Okay, you can absorb 15% if your guys are on the road 9 hours now, and you can go up to 9.75. That's if you're doing 22 stops per hour. Say you're only doing 15 stops per hour. Guess what? You're down to only being able to absorb 10%. Okay. This tool is just wonderful to work with that, and you can see what you're really capable in your operation rather than just think you know what's capable in your operation. Numbers don't lie. Okay. So we've been on here almost an hour today. I want to thank everybody for your time today. Next week we'll be here again. Hopefully we have some updates. If we'll see if the parties have returned to the bargaining table. During that time period, please learn what the capacity is in your operation with your existing fleet. And if you haven't started to increase your recruiting efforts, recruit. Anything else, Jeff?
No, sir.
All righty. Well, thank you again, and we'll see everybody here next week, same time. Thank you. Have a great, safe, profitable week.